Hey, how's it going? I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, and this is a Knicks realistic rebuild video. This is actually the third time I've rebuilt the team, and I'm going to include 2 trades, 2 unrestricted free agent signings, and 2 draft picks. Both of the draft picks are going to be top 15, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to step into the first trade. But before I get into it, if you like content like this, I would just ask you to consider subscribing, liking, and sharing the video. So with that being said, let's get into the first trade. In our first deal, what we're going to do is we're going to acquire Mike Conley Jr. from the Utah Jazz. This is a move that I already showed you guys in one of our building block videos, which are smaller videos that, I put together to build these larger realistic rebuild videos. So I'll link that one above for Mike Conley. And in the deal, we're going to acquire Mike Conley for Julius Randle, Wayne Ellington, and also Elfrid Payton. So we're going to bring Mike Conley in under $34.5 million that he's owed for the last year of his contract, which some Knicks fans may, not be happy about. But we have to start building a winning culture for the Knicks. And yes, we brought in a coaching staff to help do that, but we still need the players to go on the court and in those moments in the locker room and further promote that winning culture. And Mike Conley is coming from 2 winning cultures. He's coming from a winning culture with the Memphis Grizzlies, from those grit and grind days back, with Marc Gasol in them. Also, he's coming from the Utah Jazz, which has had a recent string of good seasons that he's also been able to take a part of. So we can bring Mike Conley in to also school a lot of the point guards that we're bringing in to see who could be our point guard of the future. And he's only going to be here for 1 year. It's not terrible. The Knicks have done, other deals in which we've brought in longer contracts and put ourselves even further into luxury cap hell. So to bring Mike Conley in on a short 1-year deal, I don't think is going to be terrible. And you'll see why I would want to bring a more veteran point guard in just to school some of these players. In our second trade, we're going to reach out to the Orlando Magic and we're going to acquire their 15th pick in this year's first round. In order to do that, we're also going to have them send over Melvin Frazier, who is a shooting guard on the team that really doesn't play much. But in order to make the salaries work in the deal, we're going to have to include him. And the good thing about it is he's currently on a team option for next year. So at the completion of the deal, the team could opt to not pick up that option and save $1.6 million on the cap. So in order to get this deal done, we're going to have to give up our 27th pick in the first round, as well as Dennis Smith Jr. There have been reports that the Orlando Magic are interested in possibly bringing in Dennis Smith Jr. I guess the coaches over there think they can, they want to have a little workshop for reclamation projects when it comes to point guards. They've already brought in Fultz, and apparently now they're looking at Dennis Smith Jr. So if they want him, we can make the deal happen just to get their 15th pick. And you're going to see why I, want that 15th pick. And when it comes to creating the roster in depth. Now that I showed you guys what trades I'm going to make, I'm going to go position by position just to show you how I'm going to fill out the remaining portion of the roster. So we're going to start with point guards. And of course, I already mentioned Michael Conley. He's making $34.5 million this year, and he's 33 years old. Next, with the 15th pick that we got from the Orlando Magic, I'm going to select Kira Lewis. Kira Lewis is a player that has been on a lot of, Knicks fans' radar when it comes to the Knicks actually moving back in the draft and selecting. So what I did is I dangled Dennis Smith Jr. out there, and I used that to move up in the draft in order to select him. Right around where most analysts expect him to go. He's a 6'3" point guard. He has a very long wingspan, and they liken him to, a De'Aaron Fox light is what I've read in most of my analysis for him. He's a very quick point guard. He knows how to move and penetrate and get into the lane. And that's something the Knicks really, need. We haven't had a dynamic point guard in forever. I think the last good point guard we had was Jason Kidd, and that was at the tail end of his career. And he wasn't athletic. He wasn't explosive. He was just a good floor general. So to bring in a Kira Lewis, a player type that the Knicks fans have been dying for, I think would be very good in order to not only point the team in the right direction, but also pick up fan morale. All the fans were hyped thinking we were going to get some of the other players that were in last year's draft. And we got RJ, who is a very good player. I expect him to be a great player moving forward. But he didn't bring that hype or that persona that we got when we talk about like a Zion or a Ja. He hasn't brought that aura to the Knicks. And hopefully if we pair him with Akira Lewis, we can have that energy bumping in the Garden again. Because most of the times when I go to the games, the energy is brought based off what the other team is doing. And we got to change that quick, fast, and in a hurry. So let's move on to shooting guards. With the 8th overall pick, I have the Knicks selecting Devin Vassell, the shooting guard out of Florida State. Don't turn off the video. Relax. RJ is not going anywhere. I said there were 2 trades, and I already showed you the 2 trades. So chill, relax, kick your feet up, and enjoy the rest of the video. So with that being said, Devin Vassell is going to be our starting 2, and he is a 3-and-D type of wing player. He's able to shoot the shot efficiently, and he's not really known to create his own shot, but he'll create a little bit more spacing so players like Mike Conley, Kara Lewis, RJ can get into the paint a little bit more easily, seeing that his defender is going to have to stick to him. So that's what we're going to have as our starting shooting guard, and backing him up, we're going to have Frank Nitti. Frank Nitti is going to be the backup too. He's no longer going to be a starter. Well, not really a starter most of the time, but Frank Nitti is going to be the backup, and this is going to allow him to still get some time on the court and not have to worry about being the primary ball handler and things of that nature. And when he shares the court with Michael Conley, at least Michael Conley can knock down the 3, and it'll give a little bit more space when it comes to the 2 of them on the court at the same time. Now we're going to get into the small forwards. At small forward, we're going to start RJ Barrett, and we're going to allow him to operate over there at the 3, and yes, there are going to be moments where we'll move him to the 2 when we're trying or we're using different rotations. But to back up RJ, we're going to bring in Justin Holiday from the Indiana Pacers. Justin Holiday is going to be one of those key glue guys that's going to help keep the team together. He's not a star, but he's one of those role players that makes the play when you need it, and he's good defensively, so I'm sure Tibbs is going to like him in the locker room as well. And at small forward, don't forget, we still have Iggy, so Iggy will be there to back up those 2. If you need to, maybe send Iggy down to the G League to get some more work, but I would really like to see what Iggy can do at the NBA level. So hopefully this year they're going to actually give him a little bit more playing time to help out our shooting on the team. Looking at our power forwards, you're going to see a very familiar face. I'm going to bring back Danilo Gallinari on a similar deal to what he signed to, in Los Angeles, which is going to be 3 years, $66 million. So at annual value, it's going to be $22 million a year. Now, I know you guys are going to say, why would he sign for a very similar contract when he can either try to make more money or go to a contender? Well, you have to look at the cap space of a lot of these teams. A good majority of these teams don't necessarily have the cap space to bring, Gallo in straight up. And if he's going to a contender, a sign and trade may be difficult to pull off as well. Because if he's going to a contender, why would the contender then want to trade pieces away from the team to bring in Gallo, especially at what Gallo may cost? Because the contracts have to match when you're very much over the cap limit. So this is going to present an opportunity for the Knicks to bring in a quality piece with the hopes of contention being around the corner. So that's what I'm thinking here. That's what my mindset is when it comes to bringing in Gallo. And backing up Gallo, we still have Kevin Knox. He's going to be back. He's going to be, coming in either at the 4 or sometimes even at the 3, depending on what rotations Tibbs is going to want to run with. And also we have Kenny Wooten, who's still under contract he's on a 2-way contract, so he'll spend some time up with the big club and sometimes he'll be down with the Westchester Knicks or the Baby Knicks, whatever you want to call them. And at center, we have Mitchell Robinson. That's pretty obvious. He's not going anywhere. He's fairly cheap based on his contract price. And he's pretty much one of our building blocks, one of our major building blocks. So, of course, He's going to be starting. Hopefully he can stay out of foul trouble and get a lot more minutes on the actual court. But we shall see. I'm going to be positive for this upcoming season. And backing up Mitchell Robinson, I'm going to sign Aaron Baines as well. Also, damn, I messed up. So it's 3 signings. Look, we got a surprise signing. So it's 3 signings. I'm bringing in Aaron Baines as well. He's a player that I've used in, I think, all 3 rebuilds. I think he's a player that the Knicks should be targeting. He can help on the defensively, and he also can space the floor, something the Knicks desperately need. We were towards the bottom, if not the worst team in 3-point shooting. So having a big that can space the floor is a very big need for the New York Knicks. Also, some I wouldn't say honorable mentions, but some things I do have to mention is there is some dead weight, holding down our cap situation. There's about $8 million or $8.5 million that's going to have to be put to the side for, cuts. Joakim Noah, he's still on our contract, on our payroll, unfortunately. He's still negatively affecting the cap. You also have Taj Gibson, who we're going to have to cut in order to, and by cutting him, we're going to add $1 million in dead money on the cap, as well as Reggie Bullock. So once you total this all together, we're going to be at $110 million, and that's right at the cap level for this year, right around the cap level for this year. So if it goes up slightly, maybe a couple mil here or there, we may be able to do make other additions to the team. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition over to the court view just to show you guys how some of the lineups may look if we were going to put this team on the court. So now here we have court view. As you can see, we have Michael Conley Jr. as the starting point guard. We also have Devin Vassell at the 2, RJ Barrett at the 3, Gallo at the 4, and Mitch at the 5. So there are multiple ways the coach could decide to put rotations out there. But one thing I like to do when I create these teams, I like flexibility. I like players that can play multiple positions. I like players that can switch. Because now in the NBA, players are switching everything. So if we have a team full of everybody that can guard multiple positions, it's going to be very hard for the offense or the opposing team to put us in compromising situations defensively. So with this team, I think I've pretty much constructed a team that can pretty much switch 1 through 3 for the most part. And even depending on who you have at the 4, they can guard a small forward if they need to. I know Gallo isn't, fleet of foot, but he can do what he has to do to stay in front of the defender if it's a smaller forward. So as you can see now, if we want to take Vassell out, we can take him out, put him to the bench. We can move RJ over, right? If you want, we can bring Knox in, put Knox in at the 3, Also, we could put Justin Holiday in as well to back up and have a lineup of those 3. Conley, Holiday, RJ, Gallo, Mitch, right? We could take Gallo out, and then we can put Knox in. Still have a pretty decent team, a team that's pretty good and pretty sound defensively, or a lineup or players on the court that's pretty sound defensively. Take out Conley. We can put Kira in. So you see there are multiple options. You can take Mitch out, put Baines in, still have a pretty decent team that has enough shooting so that the paint isn't too clogged, so RJ and Kara can still get in and do what they got to do. Still have Frank. We can put Frank in at times. I'm not sure if I want to have Frank in, though, too much when Kara's on the court at the same time. Kara, he shot okay last year. He shot about 36%. But, his jump shot still may be something that has to be worked on. So I'd probably keep my man, Conley in whenever we have to put Frank in. Make sure that their minutes overlap as much as possible. So you still have Iggy. Show Iggy some shine. Put Frank back on the bench. So that's what I try to do when I come and make these realistic rebuilds. This is version 3. I try to create a team that is good and sound defensively, and also has the shooting needed to play in the modern NBA. And that's something the Knicks have lacked for a pretty long time. I mean, the Knicks haven't been a great three-point shooting. The last great three-point shooter, I know Quickley was decent, but the last great, three-point shooter I know of is discount double check Steve Novak. That was the last time we had a premier shooter or a team where we could expect them to get hot from three regularly. So you guys, look at the team. Let me know your suggestions. Like, I'm always in the comments with you guys, debating. I don't mind debating. That's all. That's what sports is. And, Knicks fans are very, very supportive of the team and vocal. So let me know what you guys think. If you have other ideas, let me know as well. I might be able to bring those to life for you. So once again, I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, and I'm out.